Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Marco Collective Gamer CG77 here, and I'm going to try something a little bit different when it comes to the retro games. I'm going to try to do shorter bites, or shorter or quicker overviews. They say that imitation is the highest form of flattery, though in 1994, Capcom didn't quite feel that way. When both Fighter's History and Fighter's History Dynamite came out, and Fighter's History Dynamite is also known as Karnov's Revenge, and was released in the arcades in 1994. At that time, riding of course the hype that was Street Fighter II, Capcom definitely felt and sued Data East as they felt that they were infringing upon their rights from the Street Fighter II game. Of course, while the gameplay and some of the character moves are really close to Street Fighter, so it's really hard to say that there wasn't some inspiration taken by Data East from Capcom's seminal fighter Street Fighter, the courts did find that finding an exact either ripoff of the Street Fighter II game was not heavily present, so they did find in Data East's favor. That said, Fighter's History Dynamite or Karnov's Revenge is still a worthy, I would say, fighter at this day and age. You can find it and pick it up online, especially if you have the Evercade, as the first game, Fighter's History, is available in their collection as a handheld. Of course, that version of Fighter's History is the home Super Nintendo or Super Famicom port and not the arcade version. But still plays fairly well, I would say, even with the reduction in frames of animation and slightly smaller characters, but it is definitely one way to pick up the game nowadays physically without breaking the bank. You can pick up, of course, the MVS version, and that's another kind of price-conscious way to pick up the game. Otherwise, it is pretty tough to find this game digitally. Unfortunately, it has not been released by Hamster, so you can't find it as part of their ACA archives. But even if they were to release it at $8, this game is, for me, is not exactly worth it. It's fun to kind of take a look back. It's a unique fighter for sure as far as being part of that SNK stable, but of course developed by Data East and published by SNK. That said, there are definitely a lot better fighters in the SNK, say, lineup that I would spend my money on. Like, for example, Breakers or Breakers Revenge. That is also kind of a niche game. Also, while the graphics are decent, they're not quite equal to other games released during that time in 1994. The animation, the frames, the backgrounds are quite still. There's not a lot of life to them, especially comparing to, say, other fighters in the SNK roster lineup, like the Samurai Shodown series, the later Fatal Fury 2 onward series. Unfortunately, this game just can't compete. They're still quite colorful and attractive to look at. The backgrounds are mostly new when it comes to Fighter's History Dynamite or Karnov's Revenge compared to the first game. But the main piece is the animation itself, as far as the fluidity and the extra frames and the uniqueness of each character just quite aren't there, to be honest, compared to, say, other Neo Geo fighters. The characters themselves are 13 characters overall. You've got Fei Lin, Jean, Rei, Lee, and Ryoko, Young Mei, Zazie, Mizuguchi, Samche, and Clown, along with Matlock, Karnov, and Mysterious. As far as the music, I would say it's pretty serviceable and nothing completely stands out. The sound effects are somewhat generic. Nothing, again, really kind of stands out in my mind. But the announcer at least is pretty animated when it comes to the winning announcements. The gameplay, actually fairly decent. I would say about a 7.5 out of 10. Again, it's a fairly solid title, but if you're going to pick it up specifically for the Neo Geo AES or MVS, I would say that your money might be spent a little bit better elsewhere. Now, if you were able to find it, say, digitally, if it does come out in the future between $3.99 to $7.99, it might be worth it if you're interested. As I mentioned, you can play the Super Famicom or SNES version on the Evercade cartridge, and that cartridge is about 20 bucks, and it comes with, I believe, 6 other titles as part of that collection. And at that point, if you are playing on the Evercade VS or Evercade Versus, however you want to say that, I would say it's actually worth it. Overall, it's a fun little title to go back to, since it is somewhat unique and kind of a niche title. But as I mentioned, there are other games in the SNK library that just honestly play better and do have better graphics, better sound, more fluid animation. As I mentioned, the Breakers series, which you can actually also pick up as part of the Breakers collection. And in fact, they've actually re-released the Neo Geo AES cartridges. They're $2.99, but at least they're brand new and you can pick them up again. So if I did have to spend the money to purchase it again, I definitely would go for the Breakers collection or the Breakers Revenge for the Neo Geo re-release. As far as this title, it's fun to play. I'm glad I have it as part of my collection, but I definitely would not pick it up in today's prices. Thanks for watching this quick overview, trying a new format where it's basically under 7 minutes. So hope you enjoy.